Scouting is the number one defense that farmers have against insects because you can't manage a pest if you don't know it's there and how much damage it's causing. There are different scouting methods depending on the type of pest. For example, the type of scouting we would do for stink bugs is very different than the type of scouting we might do for defoliating insects, that is, insects that are actually chewing holes in the leaves. Now, fortunately, we can take some shortcuts with defoliating insects because we can consider not all of the dozen of different insects that might be causing that defoliation, but we can look instead at the total amount of defoliation that's happening, regardless of which assortment of species is causing it. And we can make management decisions on when to spray based on defoliation levels. We call those defoliation-based thresholds. Now, it is actually kind of tricky to determine defoliation levels because the human eye is just not really good at looking at a leaf and saying X% of that leaf is gone. And our defoliation levels are based on percentages. For example, if you are in the pod formation and seed filling stages, we can tolerate 10% defoliation. Well, what does that look like? That's actually surprisingly hard to determine. And so we have been working on tools funded by Chekhov, both the North Central Soybean Research Program and also the Ohio Soybean Council, to help educate people on better ways to assess defoliation more accurately so they can make accurate management decisions. And one tool that we've come up with that's been pretty successful and I think a lot of fun for people are a set of 3D printed soybean leaves that are at 3 different levels of defoliation. And these are assembled as a keychain so that you have a visual guide, a reference point to use to help you compare and say, well, what I'm seeing in the field looks like this level of defoliation in my defoliation kit, my set of leaves. And we have found that when people use this tool, they increase their accuracy of assessing their defoliation by 35%, which is pretty good. It's important to have an accurate assessment of your defoliation because if you are underestimating defoliation, perhaps you have a problem that needs to be managed and you're not doing so. What's actually, I think, a more common problem is people have a tendency to overestimate defoliation. And so they think that the defoliation they're seeing is actually more than in reality it is. And they may spend time and money on treating that field when in fact it doesn't need to, and that wastes input dollars and time. And so having an accurate idea of defoliation levels is your best way of investing or not investing resources in your management. The key with any tool like this is getting it to as many people as possible. We are able to supply local needs. In Ohio, for example, I would say this winter we've distributed maybe 1,000 of these sets, but the Soybean Research Information Network has really upped the ante, and they have produced and distributed over 10,000 of these at various farm events and educational events. And so they're really doing amazing work to get it out there.